Ladies, what's an absolute no-no for a guy to do on a first date? My wife told me this one yesterday about her older sister on a first date when she was a teen. The guy asked her to show up wearing red, anything red. She wore a red skirt with red nails. He drove her to a well-known makeout spot and tried to convince her to dance beside the car while he played Lady in Red from the tape deck. As I understand, she wasn't impressed. He initiates a dinner date. Dinner date ends up being with his extended family. Since he drove us, I get stuck back at his mom's home with extended family while he disappeared somewhere. I'm not even socially comfortable around my own extended family. Asked to wear matching outfits. I wish I was kidding. Does this happen often to you? Thankfully no. I was early 20s when this happened. I'm now much better at spotting red flags. Though, you kinda need a few shitty dates/relationships to learn what to look for. Take you to his grandmother's house and ask her for money to pay for the date. Edit. Some people asked for the full story, so here you go. I was at work one day and this guy comes in and starts talking to me. Turns out he was my next door neighbor from 15 years ago. He asks me to hang out and I say sure, thinking why not catch up since it's the first time I've seen him since then. Literally didn't even realize it was a date. It was a really nice day out, so he invited me on a ride on his motorcycle. He picks me up at my house, and as soon as I put a helmet on, he's like, okay, first I'm taking you to see my grandma. Drives us over there and introduces me to her by saying, so this is that girl I told you I really like. I'd really like to take her to dinner, so can I have that money now? I'm just standing off to the side, super awkward, because who TF introduces someone to their grandma on a first date, let alone blatantly asks for money from her? She gives him $20 and he tells me we can go to Dairy Queen. We drive around for a bit and eventually end up at one. He tells me the only thing I'm allowed to get is a $5 lunch. Okay, whatever. He makes a little bit of a scene because he wanted his drink with no ice and hadn't told her that before she already poured his drink. We sat down and started talking, and immediately he's talking about all these vacations we can go on, how he wanted to take me to the mountains in the winter, and how we should really start planning for my birthday 9 months away because we should totally go across the country to this one resort he knew. In my mind I'm just like, okay buddy, slow down a bit, and also how TF are you going to pay for all of that? We finish eating, and he decides he wants to take me to his cousin's house. We spent a solid hour there just with him socializing with them. I'm not even included in the conversation at all. He then takes me to his great aunt's house, which was pretty depressing considering she has Alzheimer's and both of my grandfathers died from that, so it's a bit of a sore spot for me. Spent another hour or so there, went back to his cousin's house to socialize some more there, proceeded to slap my ass in front of them. We are finally done socializing, so he drives up to this remote spot so we could finally talk. He goes to kiss me at one point. I turn my head because seriously no thank you. He bites my neck and tells me I'm lucky he's not a vampire. I'm constantly hinting that I want to go home, but he's not getting it, and I don't want to be rude because he's my ride and we are literally at least an hour away from where I live and I don't want to get ditched or anything like that. Finally he takes me home, and I pretty much go inside without him as quickly as possible. The next 2 days in a row he shows up at my house uninvited and spends a solid hour there each time just talking to my mom. Luckily I wasn't there either time. He shows up at my work. I tell him flat out he creeped me out and I wasn't interested. He comes back the next day to ask me out again. Tell him no again. Stops in the next week. Addresses me as babe. Tells my coworkers I'm his girlfriend. And JFC I thought I was going to have to get a restraining order against him. Dude was 32 BTW. One time, a guy asked me out and showed up in those toe shoes. Didn't realize it was at the top of my no-no list until it happened. As a proponent of Vibrams, I actually can't defend him. They were awesome for running. But on a first date, it's like extreme honesty, I guess. Show them your worst trait right off the bat. Just rip that band-aid off and see where you stand. I was too polite about it. My roommates were not. Don't show up. Sad face. Trying to fungiblast me at dinner. Is Arby's the wrong place for that kind of thing? I'll have a classic roast beef and cheddar. Wear too much cologne. Be on your phone. Talk about your ex. I had a man who brought her up and said I reminded him of her. I've also had men just talk about how much they hated their exes. It's just awkward. Don't take your date to Olive Garden. Slurp your soup up really fast. Use your finger to get the remaining traces out of the bowl and lick your fingers. And then request 2 more soup refills in a row. So I have to endure this torture again and again. Edit. Forgot to mention that I was 17 at the time and really thought he was a nice guy despite this. So I excuse this. I know. And we dated for 6 long months afterwards. He unfortunately repeated this offense on several more occasions. One time mentioning, "Man, my mom really hates when I do this." Don't flirt with the waiter and the girl sitting next to us and my roommate. Take me to your place. A guy did it once. No warning after we went out to eat. I had to ask where we were driving when I assumed he was talking me back to my car and he drove in the other direction. Neg my taste. Oh, you like that sushi place? Well, I've never heard of it and I know good sushi, so the place you're recommending must suck. Edit. Thanks to all that cared. BTW. These were both the same guy. We go to the same school, so after class he just picked me up from there and we went to eat because he knew of this great place and it was a surprise. I had definitely been there before. Didn't like the boba. He was a hipster ass mofo who wasn't aware he was wearing some sort of Native American looking shawl and a full beard, and when I told him he seemed like one, he fully denied it. When I told him about the sushi place we could maybe try next time, he told me it must not be good, and then when I smiled thinking it was a joke, he clarified, "You see, I've tried a lot of sushi at high-end places, so I have good taste, and if I've never heard of that place it's probably for a reason." After that, there was the creepy driving thing and other huge indicators of duckboy behavior. I hope he finds me roasting him here, but he probably sticks to Tumblr and Instagram doing hipster nonsense. Taking you to his place without asking would just be downright scary. I once went on a first date where I got into the guy's car and he started drifting through the busy streets in an urban area and refused to stop to let me out of the car. He didn't wear shoes and brought me to Carl's Jr. for dinner, which I paid for. As we were driving by an adult entertainment store on our way back to my car, he asked if I wanted to stop in and go shopping. All of these are no-nos for a first date in my book. You went on a date with a GTA character. I doubt it. She didn't mention they went bowling. Ask, "Are you a natural blonde?" Then shift your eyes to my crotch. Shudders. One day when I finally go outside I'll have all this knowledge at my disposal. Metallica, The Day That Never Comes. Point out hickeys that another girl gave you 3 days prior. Text the hickey girl to tell her you're on a date with me, then tell me about texting her. Edit. Okay, so he was 30, not a teenager. Sorry lol. I asked him why he was on a date with me and he said he didn't really like her that much, which he then clarified as she was fat. At which point I told him date was over. I also got introduced to his flatmate and flatmate's girlfriend. Hickey girl did not. Riding around on / bragging about the brand of your hoverboard. Also, don't stick your tongue in a girl's ear 10 seconds after kissing her for the first time. I had a bad experience recently. Edit. Unfortunately, he's not 15. He's 25. We are both college graduates. I was unaware the wheelboard that doesn't actually hover was a part of his life until it was too late. Haven't seen him since. Had a guy lick me from chin to forehead during our first kiss. I thought it was weird, but decided to ignore it. Then he did it again not 10s afterwards. My friends and I call him the Saint Bernard. Don't ask her a question and then turn your attention to something else. It's rude and insulting. Also, if she's going to put in the effort to get dressed up and go on a date with you, at least have the courtesy of leaving your phone in your pocket. Unless it's absolutely necessary to use it, she should also be doing the same thing. Also, if your first date isn't to go on a hike or play a pickup game of basketball, put some effort into your appearance. That is, don't wear basketball shorts. I have had so many guys show up in workout stuff to a first date at a restaurant. To be fair, if he was wearing a tracksuit in certain parts of Philly or Brooklyn, that would be considered formal attire. And Russia.